In this pilot episode of the Healthy Deposits podcast, we're going to talk about hidden health risks for men and how to overcome them. What up, and welcome to the Healthy Deposits podcast, where we break down the holistic connection between your body, your brain, and your business, and how it results in the ultimate success equation where healthy deposits equal wealthy withdrawals. Now that I got you invested, it's time to cash in on this episode. Seeing as how this is the very first episode of the Healthy Deposits podcast, it's only right that I give a bit of background information about myself before we tackle these hidden health risks for men. I'm Quintel Harcum, entrepreneur, holistic nutritionist, certified stretch coach, and founder of Good Part & Company, which is a plant-based health cafe and juice bar located at Johns Hopkins University. My journey into health and wellness is not a traditional journey where I had some kind of illness or something that I had to overcome, or I had some kind of body or weight transformation. It was kind of just my day-to-day lifestyle, and it's what I knew I could leverage into business. This was my fifth time around starting a business. I had 4 other businesses before then, and this one seemed to be like something that really had legs. Because I learned so much before. I developed the proof of concept. I started Good Part & Company in 2018, and the proof of concept was to hold juice pop-ups in my living room. So I moved out all my furniture, invited a bunch of friends over throughout the weekend. That went pretty well, and then I had that for a few months to show that it was actually something that kind of worked, and it did. I continued on, tried to have pop-ups like in other storefronts, and I got beat to the punch at some of those storefronts. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get my own spot. And so through some hard work, some focus, and some failed previous business plans, I was able to put together a successful business plan. I was blessed to find a great brick and mortar location in the Mount Vernon area of Baltimore, Maryland, and I opened my first Good Part & Company cafe during the pandemic. But we got open, we launched, and we were able to serve the community. We were able to represent on the live strip where there was a lot of other food, small businesses and franchise businesses. So it was a great place to be, just not the best time during the pandemic. However, I put on well enough, I got enough support and offered such a good product and opened up a lane for myself and for Good Part & Company. Johns Hopkins came knocking, and within 1 year, I was able to expand to my second location and represent the wellness part for the Johns Hopkins University Ralph O'Connor Center for Recreation and Well-Being. So we came through for the well-being part with our plant-based smoothies, cold-pressed juice, acai bowls, wellness shots, all the things that we do, along with the information and education around quick, healthy, plant-based food alternatives. So that's how we landed at Johns Hopkins University. Eventually, I ended up closing down the first store and kept going where the money was, which was at the second location at Johns Hopkins, and now we're still there. We are in the middle of our third school year at Johns Hopkins, so it's a blessing to still be in business, still rocking and rolling, getting through the pandemic. And so I had a Good Part podcast previously, just dropping some knowledge on health, wellness, plant-based stuff, and it kind of fizzled out because the demands of the cafe, along with a whole lot of other things I'll talk about in some different stories, just knocked me off course, and I stopped doing the podcast. And now we back as I kind of expanded into more men's health, because it's a void that I'm noticing that a lot of men just aren't being served by traditional or conventional health practices. And a more holistic approach seems to be what's working for some guys that I've been talking to, I've been working with, through my cafe, through knowing a lot of other professional men, just seeing what's going on. And I figured, why not talk about it? So I'm here to share as much as I know through all of my years of living a pretty healthy lifestyle, and then learning more through my plant-based diet, through my holistic certification, through stretching, through just all types of health and wellness. And so now we're here with the Healthy Deposits podcast. And let's talk about these hidden health risks for modern men. So I got my notes out because this list is a lot longer than we would like it to be, but it's a lot of health risks, hidden health risks for men in the modern day, because nowadays men don't work in plants. We don't work in factories. We don't incur injuries in that way anymore. Like my granddad, he worked for Bethlehem Steel, which was a big deal in Baltimore and in Maryland, and a lot of other blue-collar jobs in Baltimore and beyond. Nowadays, men are spending 6, 8, 10 hours at a desk. And say I got an 8-hour workday, 70% of our time is spent sitting during those 8-hour workdays. For whether you got a job in tech, you got a job in professional services like accounting or some kind of finances, or you're an analyst or some sort, which that's my background, right? 14 years as a government analyst for Social Security Administration. Prior to that, 4 more years working in real estate, doing titles and paperwork and stuff like that for real estate. And then I moved on to a software development company before landing my job with the government. So I sat for a really, really long time. It started to wear me down mentally and physically. So all of that setting leads to my first hidden health risk, which is sedentary lifestyle. So sitting for prolonged periods of time really can cause a lot of chronic health issues for anybody, right? Especially for men, because the number one killer or the number one cause of death, I'll say, for modern men is heart disease. And a lot of heart disease comes from not moving around, not getting exercise, not actually using your heart muscle. And so a lot of different ailments come along with being too sedentary. Not to mention, humans did not evolve to sit for long periods of time. We evolved to stand, walk, run, lay, and squat. So sitting is fairly new in our evolution. And so sitting for a really long time does things like causes your muscles to atrophy and your joint, you get joint stiffness and things like that. So sitting for long periods of time, muscle atrophy, joint stiffness, and then it starts to lead into things that could evolve into some level of heart disease, things like, maybe potentially diabetes, high blood pressure. All of this is because you're not using your heart muscle, right? You're not moving around, you're not getting enough exercise or mobility. So sedentary lifestyle is a hidden health risk that really wears down on a lot of guys. You start to really feel it as the time goes by. It's harder, it's more difficult for you to get up and down out of your chairs. Even at a younger age, you start to feel that struggle in your late 30s, mid to late 30s, early 40s. And you shouldn't be feeling that, but it happens when you spend so much time sitting. Now, the second one is something that we all feel for advancing men, guys progressing in their careers, or who already have a high demand professional career, and that's chronic stress. The pressure to perform, the long work hours really build up and add to the chronic stress that a lot of guys have. Unfortunately, the second number one cause of death for men under 45 is suicide. Chronic stress definitely adds to the number of suicides, the mental stress that comes along with a high demand profession, and just the life of guys in general, right? Everybody experiences some level of anxiety, possibly some level of depression. But when you have really extreme demands on your time to perform, when you're doing really long hours, let's say you work for a tech company, you're in a tech startup, you're coding for hours, you're in hackathons, you're really getting it in, trying to develop an app, or get your team ahead so you can possibly beat out the competition or acquire more customers on your app or your platform, right? Or get more customers in the door for your business. If you're an entrepreneur, you got to figure out every single thing. You got to do the marketing, you got to do the product, you got to do the SOPs. All of these things add up to really stressful days, right? You in professional services, tax season hit, you working nonstop 10-hour days for 2-3 months straight, trying to figure out, paperwork for a whole bunch of clients, and the client's not coming through. So things get really stressful. Not to mention you possibly have a boss that's on your heels. You got competition from competitors if you're in entrepreneurship and you look at the field and you figure out what's going on. Then you have your actual day-to-day life. You may have things going on in your family, things going on with your friends. So chronic stress is most definitely a hidden health risk that a lot of guys overlook. They just kind of deal with it and try to roll with the punches, but it can oftentimes weigh you down. Now, another hidden health risk, which a lot of guys face, and I definitely dealt with it, is poor nutrition choices, right? We work in the office, like I worked in the office for years, or maybe you work from home, right? And you may not have all the healthy food at home, and if you work in the office, you definitely don't have all the healthy food in the office or in the vending machines. I used to go to the vending machines. I was a sucker for Pop-Tarts. I was a sucker for Twix. Then I started to clean up my diet a bit and notice it's only one, maybe two options that are good in the vending machine, but they're not really that tasty, right? So you got to get on your A game, get better snacks, bring more fruit. It doesn't help when you have office potlucks. Everybody, you don't trust everybody's cooking. 2, everybody may not be on the same health journey as you. So especially if you, like me, adopted a plant-based diet. So now I'm like, I can't really eat nothing that anybody brings in for potluck. And then you may not have a lot of healthy options available to you in the surrounding areas where you may go buy food for carry out or order in, right? That can get expensive, but it also more than likely is an unhealthy food choice. And it happens. It's natural because due to time constraints, you got to rush and get food from wherever you can get food from. Let's say you don't have time to order food or have time to go out and grab something to eat. So now you run into the vending machine 2-3 times a day because you got to get back to your desk. you got to get back to your cubicle. If you're working from home, you got to be on the computer because people are checking in. You got endless Zoom meetings, and so you're trying to grab a bite in between here and there, and we just don't make the best choices. And then when we don't make the best choices, that contributes back to the first thing with the sedentary lifestyle, because then you start to gain weight, you start to put on some pounds, you start to build up inflammation. All those things weigh you down, and they're caused by poor nutrition choices. Now, these last two are real personal. The first one is neglecting your social or family life. Very big deal, but it is a bit of a hidden health risk, and it can weigh on you mentally, right? How you manage your social relationships. You have a very demanding job or profession, and it impacts your, let's call it, work-life balance, which I got some theories on that I'll share in a later podcast. But it can put a strain on your personal relationships, your social life. You may have a lack of support systems. Let's say you have children and you don't have all the support you may need, or you don't have all the emotional support you may need because people don't really understand your lifestyle, understand why you work so hard, why you have such a work-centric lifestyle, but you understand your goals. You know what you want to get done. You know how many cases you need to do, how many clients you need to get, how many, you need to acquire clients. So you know how many leads you need to acquire. All of these things really matter, right? It matters to your level of success, your financial success, your personal goals, how you want to accomplish them, right? Because you set a goal for yourself and you're going to give it a try, and you're not going to let anything deter you from doing that. And sometimes it weighs on personal relationships, and so you have to figure out a way to make sure you can give to your personal relationships the way you need to, that is beneficial for them, and that way you can get back what you need that's beneficial for you. So neglecting your personal relationships is definitely a hidden health risk that we often overlook in the pursuit of our professional goals. This last one is something that I've been working on greatly over the last 6 months. I have been improving through some strategic tactics, right? And or some strategies and tactics that have really been helpful, and that's sleep deprivation. Now, I know everybody's kind of bucking back against the whole hustle and grind culture, which I definitely am a victim or participant in that culture. And to a certain degree, I still believe it's relevant, because you ain't gonna get nothing done great, massive, or big and make major impact just working 8 hours a day. You're going to have to put in more time and more hours. Now, you're not going to have to do that forever, and it doesn't mean that you should be sacrificing your sleep forever. You should probably just be more efficient and more productive during the day. But if you're not, and you're working late into the night, it's going to happen, especially if you have a certain type of job or career. So you're going to lose some sleep, but you shouldn't believe that sleep is for the weak, or you sleep when you die, because you're liable to be dying a lot earlier if you don't get the right sleep. What I like to focus on is not only the length of or the duration of my sleep, but I really like to focus on my quality of sleep. So that's something we'll talk about in the next part of this podcast, where we talk about some things you can do to improve your sleep. But sleep deprivation is definitely a hidden health risk, and we know it. We know what's coming. We know what's coming. When you sign up to be an entrepreneur, you know you're going to lose some sleep. If you sign up to work for a tech startup or something like that, you know you're going to lose some sleep. If you got crunch numbers and you're an analyst for a big firm, you know you're going to lose some sleep. And that's okay. You just shouldn't have to go through that every day. You shouldn't subject yourself to it every day, because all it's going to do is decrease your performance. And the goal is to perform at the highest level as often as possible. So you got to be aware. You got to be on top of sleep deprivation. And you know when it's happening. You know when you wake up after what's supposed to be a quality night's rest, you got the amount of hours in and you still feel sleepy, right? Or you crash in early, you just feel fatigued, you're tired, you're burning out. You're starting to get fuzzy by the end of the day, like literally can't see straight type of thing. You're looking at the computer for hours and hours. Sleep deprivation is real, man. You're nodding off while you're driving on your commute back home or to work. So you could definitely tell when sleep deprivation is setting in. And we're going to talk about how to avoid, prevent, and recover from all of these hidden health risks in the next part of this podcast. So check it out. This first episode is not all about doom and gloom for men's health. It's really all about accomplishing your goals and fulfillment. And it's easier to do that if you're taking care of your health. If you're on top of your health, all parts of your health, right? Holistically, thinking about all the aspects that's going to make you become the person you want to be and do the things that you want to do, then you're really tapping in to every part of your health mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Let's talk about the first thing you can do to avoid these hidden health risks. And that would be to adopt, incorporate, and be consistent with a good workout, fitness, or training routine. Now, you don't have to hit the gym and become a professional bodybuilder or train like a professional athlete, but you do have to train like the professional that you say you are. It's just something that I thought about, is that all the highest level professionals, because I like everything at the highest level, right? So all the highest level professionals, they have a very specific workout training regimen, right? Like, so I play high school basketball, so I'm looking at the top level of basketball, which is NBA. So pro athletes, they have a training workout, they have a training regimen. Bodybuilders have a training regimen. Ballet dancers have a training regimen. All the highest level professionals have some kind of distance runners have a training regimen, right? So everybody they train for success in their field. Why don't we have some kind of training regimen? You need to have some kind of training regimen so you can succeed in your professional field, right? And so how are you using your body in your field? You're sitting all the time, which means you have to do things to increase your mobility, right? Improve your blood flow, build muscle strength, right? And get you some more flexibility because you're sitting all the time. So you're getting stiff, you're not using your muscles, you're sedentary, so you're not using your heart. So you got to get your heart rate up, you got to stretch, you got to get mobile. So these are the things that I believe that professional modern men need to focus on in their fitness routines. And I always like to say that everything flows downstream from a good fitness routine. And what that really means is that knocking out your fitness routine makes so many other decisions easy and less challenging because you worked out. Because typically, if you got a good workout, you got good training in, that's going to be the hardest thing you do all day. Everything else after that is light work. And then working out is like it's downstream. So if you get up the energy, you get up the focus, and you get up the discipline, you get to the top of the hill, you knock out the workout, right? And now you're rolling downhill, you're gonna make better decisions, you're gonna get that runner's high, the endorphins are gonna start kicking in, so you're gonna feel good. You do it consistently, you're gonna start looking good, and you know what Coach Prime told us. You look good, you feel good, you play good, they pay good. That's what it's all about, right? But not only that, you're going to make better decisions around pretty much all of your health things because you don't want to lose the gains that you made from your fitness routine. So you're probably going to make better eating decisions because you got to support your workout, because you can't outwork a poor diet. You really can't. So you're going to make better decisions around how you eat. You're going to be more in tune with your body. So you're going to be more mindful of how you're moving, how you're using your body. You're going to start feeling that stiffness start to kick in. So you're going to start getting up to stretch while you're at your desk. All these things are going to start to become, more automatic for you. It's going to be default. You're going to want to move more. And, like I said, you're going to be feeling good. So some of the things that would typically bother you at work, it ain't even phasing you no more. You done built up the mental resilience for yourself to overcome those types of things. So you got to figure out some kind of fitness routine. Now, if you're really short on time, then you got to do what works, but focus on doing it consistently. So a quick morning movement works, some mobility work, that's great. A morning walk, you get out in the sun, so now you just reaping all types of benefits. You're getting sunlight in your eye, kicking in your circadian rhythm, getting you some vitamin D, getting your heart rate up early in the day, right? So you go for a walk, or even later in the day, or either during your lunch break, go for a walk, right? You do some push-ups at your desk, you do some air squats at your desk, you do some stretching in the evening, you do some stretching at your desk. Just get some movement in. If you can't get in a thorough, 30 to 60 minute workout, 20 minute workout, whatever you normally would get in, but try to get in some type of workout and be consistent with it. Now, the second thing you can do to avoid a lot of these hidden health risks is improve your diet and nutrition. I subscribe to a plant-based diet because that's what I felt like was going to work for me to improve my energy, improve my focus, keep me feeling youthful, energetic, so I can get after it day to day to get myself up out of my cubicle and start my own business. That's what worked for me. And I just felt like I knew that being focused on my diet was really, really going to help me out. I was already in decent shape, and I just knew, really I got inspired by Russell Simmons. He was talking about being vegan, and he always, he looked young, talked young, vibrant, whatever. And it wasn't so much about the ethical choice to not hurt or harm animals, where when you're plant-based, you develop more empathy towards animals and everything else around you. But really, I was interested in the benefits, right? Less inflammation, more energy, better digestion, more focus. And so that's eventually what led me to becoming a holistic nutritionist, because it allowed me to learn more about how food actually works and then using food as medicine. But you don't have to subscribe to a plant-based diet. You just need to subscribe to a diet that's better for what you're doing. And that typically starts by eliminating the bad things. These are the two things I'm going to talk about that I say that all guys need to reduce or eliminate first if you want to improve your diet and nutrition. The first thing you want to do is avoid highly processed, refined, sugary carbohydrates, right? So white bread, white potatoes, we all love French fries, I get it, but you need to have less of them. And if you're on a very specific health journey where you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to reduce your cholesterol intake or reduce your blood pressure, then or reduce your blood sugar count, then that's where you're going to want to start. Specifically during the day when you are working and you get hungry, right? Because your brain uses a lot of energy. It only accounts for 3 pounds of your body roughly, but it can use up to 20 to 30% of your actual body's energy. So people used to tell me like, "Yo, you work at the office, how you ever get tired?" All my people that work in cubicles, all my people that got a desk job, quote unquote, y'all know what it's like. You sit there, you focus for 2-3 hours in a row. Cause you start to feel that. You get home at the end of the day, you feel that. You get tired because you use a lot of brain power. You burn a lot of energy using your brain. So when you get hungry, you burn that energy and you get hungry, right? So you want to reach for a snack. You don't want to be like how I used to be, going to the vending machine to get Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts for breakfast. Why am I eating Pop-Tarts at 2 o'clock? But it happens, right? You grab some cookies or whatever the case may be. So now you got some sugary food. You think it's going to give you a boost, and it might for a few minutes, but then you're going to get the blood sugar crash, right? Your blood sugar is going to spike, and then it's going to crash. And you do that too often, that's how people develop type 2 diabetes, because we could talk about that more in a later episode and get more specific about how a lot of guys or a lot of men are developing type 2 diabetes a lot earlier than they should be, and they shouldn't be at all. You want to be more mindful with the highly refined processed sugars and highly refined carbs, right? So I'm not saying don't eat carbs at all. If you want to go keto, all right, cool. No carbs, low carbs, great. Low carbs is great, for most people anyway, especially for most guys. If you got a gut, you're trying to get your gut down, all those types of things. But let's just start there, right? That's number one. I know I've rambled on a bit about that, but let's start there. Because you want to avoid sugar crashes, and you want to avoid the glucose just turning into fat, right? Second thing you want to reduce or eliminate is alcohol. Let's start here. If you consume too much alcohol, we just know that's not going to be good for your work production. It's not going to be good for your health because it's hard on your liver. It's not good for your brain, right? Because it's going to have you foggy. Your body's going to be, it's going to be too many toxins in your body, and your body's always going to be working to detoxify, which means it can't get the blood flowing like it's supposed to, so you can execute at work. Second thing I learned, you see this ring here on my finger? This is an Oura ring. I use it to track my sleep. Alcohol really disrupts your sleep. It prevents you from getting the right amount of REM sleep, and you can definitely feel it. That's why we always so hungover. Aside from the detox, you don't sleep well when you drink too much. So you want to reduce or eliminate alcohol because you want to improve your quality of sleep. Also, there's a lot of sugar in alcohol, especially when you get cocktails, because there's a lot of sugar and the things that they add into it. So I'm not saying only drink straight. If you're going to drink, this is not advice. That's probably a better option. Another thing is, once you start to develop a really good workout routine, if you work out in the morning and you drink too late in the afternoon, it's going to be an even steeper uphill climb to get your mind right to go work out. Everybody doesn't have the discipline to say, I'm just going to work out anyway. But also what alcohol does, because of the sugar content, because of the toxins, it reduces your ability to maximize gains from your workout. So if you're trying to build muscle, if you're trying to improve endurance, if you're trying to improve your heart rate and things like that, alcohol disrupts all of those things. So when it comes to nutrition, you want to reduce or eliminate refined processed sugars, processed carbs, those types of things, and you want to reduce and eliminate alcohol. Off top, those two will definitely help you out in improving your nutrition. Okay, so now this next one is a response to the chronic stress. And that's to develop and implement some kind of mindfulness strategies or techniques to help you deal with the BS that pops up from day to day. It's going to happen no matter what, and things happen. Cam, aka Rico, told us and paid in full, man. Let's get shot every day, B. So things going to happen, man. Every day something's going to pop up, and you got to be able to stay focused. You need to stay mentally clear and emotionally resilient so that you can handle these things and still perform in your personal life and your professional life. You can't be out here just flying off the handles, not being professional, not being able to handle the things that come about. Nobody wants to follow your lead. Let's say you're in a leadership position at your job, you're a manager, or you have your own business and you wonder why your employees don't want to deal with you. They're not following directions. Nobody's calling you on your line, texting you, emailing you, trying to put together some things or make some connections and collaborate and network because you don't know how to handle yourself emotionally because you don't have any mindfulness practices in place. So you got to develop some kind of mindfulness practices so you can be able to respond to the things that happen and not react to all the things that happen in your day-to-day. Now, mindfulness practices and routines can look different for all types of people, right? So many people tell me that they don't know how to meditate. And I just don't understand why you don't know how to meditate. Like, you can just Google how to meditate. And it's not that you don't know how to meditate. You're just not comfortable with the practice of meditation. But you don't have to do a whole lot to meditate. I'll tell you some quick steps to help you with meditation. The first thing you want to do is decide when you're going to meditate. Then you're going to find a quiet place to do it. And then you're just going to be still. You don't have to sit cross-legged on the floor. You can sit in a chair. You want to sit somewhere where your posture is erect enough for you to be engaged with your body. So you can meditate laying down, but then it's going to take you to a state where you're very close to sleep. And that's fine too. If you can meditate before you actually doze off because you're liable to doze off, cool. But you can sit cross-legged. You can sit in the chair. You can sit on the stool. You want to have your feet flat and just be still. Just start there. Just be still. Don't worry about all of the thoughts. Don't even worry about the breath work yet. Like, all of those things you can work on. But if you want to start to develop some kind of practice of meditation, just focus on silence and just being still. And you don't have to do it for a long time. It's just like a muscle. You'll be able to get stronger with it as time goes on. The more and more you use the muscle. So think of meditation like a muscle that you got to flex on the regular consistently for you to actually get stronger and to get better. So just sit still. Start with 1 minute. Then start with 2 minutes. If you got an Apple Watch, they got the mindfulness joint right on here. You can just put in the 2 minutes and it's going to trigger your breaths and let you know what you can do when to inhale, when to exhale. Just put it on 2 minutes, then work your way up to 5, 15, 20, whatever like that. So mindfulness techniques can come in the form of meditation. It can come in the form of breath work. It can come in the form of walking. You can have a mindfulness movement meditation where you just catch a flow state and you catch a moment of tranquility when you're out on a walk, right? Or cycling or on your indoor bike. You got a Peloton, right? Mindfulness can also come in the form of journaling, right? So you start putting pen to paper and write about your thoughts, write about your plans, write about your feelings. All of these things help you take track of your thought process, your feelings, and how your triggers, and then how you're actually responding and reacting to these things and making you more aware of who and how you are. Okay, now let's talk about rest. This is rest and recovery. This is really what's going to help with the whole sleep deprivation thing. Now, the older you get, the more you mature, the better the quality of your rest needs to be. We don't get the same amount of rest. We don't recover the same in our mid to late 30s and early 40s like we did when we was in our 20s. So you got to be more mindful of that. I used to do parties and events here in Baltimore. We're going to talk about that in future episodes. And I was up late often. I have calendars where I was tracking all of the times that we actually went out every day, 2, 3 spots a night, different happy hours, different parties, different events, weekdays and all that. And then you can go to bed, wake up, do it all over again with no problem, right? You roll into the office, might be a little tipsy, you might be a little tired, but you can still get to it. Your body's going to recover. You get you a Gatorade, you have a Red Bull, whatever. You figure it out when you're young. But as you get older, you just don't recover the same. And that means you need to improve your sleep quality. You need to get more focused on your sleep and your rest and how you recover. And so recovery is not always about actual sleeping, but it is about taking time to yourself. So you can have like siestas, right, where you take naps and stuff like that in the middle of the day. There's a thing called NSDR, right, non-sleep deep rest, where you can just sit back and close your eyes for a while. It's very, very much like meditation or yoga nidra, where you sit and you kind of meditate and you breathe, and it helps refocus you. Like, it literally helps refocus your brain, refocus your energy, and actually boost your energy so you can get back to focusing on what you were doing before. So those things, that's recovery, right? And then when you're resting, when you're sleeping, you want to get high quality sleep. What I would recommend, what I've learned through studying, the first place I start is going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. And it's going to be within a window, say 30 minutes to an hour, preferably 30 minutes. You want to make it as short as possible. For example, if you go to bed between 10 and 10:30 and wake up at 6:30, right, that's your 8 hours of sleep. So you want to go to sleep and wake up the same time. Now, I know when I was young, I would think, I'm just going to make up for sleep on the weekends when I'm not working overtime or something like that. And there are some new science that kind of shows how you actually can make up for sleep to a certain degree to realign your body. But we're not focused on that right now. What we're focused on is getting your sleep in the same window of time, going to sleep around the same time, waking up around the same time. That's going to really help set your circadian rhythm so your body knows when it needs to be active and be more engaged and when it can start winding down. How that really plays out internally is that your body is on a clock, it's your circadian rhythm, and it's releasing hormones at different times of the day. Now, if you're going to sleep at random times, random hours, then you're telling your body that it needs to release certain hormones for you to do one thing when it should be doing another thing. And so that's when you're really going to get all off kilter and just not being able to focus, not being able to execute. And we always want to get back to that good execution, man, because the better you execute, the more efficient and effective you can be, the less time you have to spend at work. You can get back to doing some things that you really like to do, man, like having some fun, kicking it with your friends, kicking it with your family, building the things you want to build. That's where you want to be, right? And you get good rest, you can do the things you need to do, so you can do the things you need to do, so you can do the things you want to do. Now, when we think about this from a holistic aspect, which is really my jam, I'm always thinking about the connection between this thing and that thing, whether it be physical, mental, it could be ethereal, all of the things are connected. And so another thing I want to recommend to get better rest goes back to your nutrition, which is not eating 2 to 3 hours before you actually go to sleep. So you really want to avoid eating late. Now, the longer you stay up, the more work you're doing later into the evening, you're going to get hungry because you're burning energy, and you're going to get hungry. It's going to happen. But you don't want to eat late. If you're going to sleep around the same time every night, now you can backtrack, or you can back into what time is going to be the best times for you to eat. So if you know you normally go to sleep around 10 o'clock, you want to have your last meal around 7, no later than 8. Because you want to give your body time to rest and digest. You want to digest your food properly. If you're eating too late and then you immediately go to sleep, you're not going to digest your food properly. Then you're going to wake up still feeling groggy because your body was overactive while you were trying to sleep, so you weren't really getting the deep sleep that you needed. And it's all tied together, especially if you're eating highly processed BS junk food late at night. It's just going to weigh on your body too much, man. And then you're not going to burn those calories off, because when you sleep, that's when you're burning the least amount of calories, and it's just going to be way too easy to put on more pounds. And that's not the look we're going for. That's not where we want to make the gains. We're not trying to make the gains in our waistline. All right, we're not trying to make the gains in our gut. You want to stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you actually go to sleep. That's going to help you get better rest. Now, this last one is kind of a bonus, because people don't really think about social relationships or personal relationships as a part of their health, but it really is. And so you have to be very intentional about your community, your network, and your relationships. The riskiest thing in a guy who's on his path, on his purpose, advancing in the world, high demand career profession, the riskiest thing he can do is to spend a disproportionate amount of time with the wrong people, right? They say the person you choose to marry has the biggest impact on your life, right? And I believe that's super true. I'm not married, but I definitely believe that, because that's who you're going to spend most of the time with. That's who you're building the biggest bonds with, the bonds that have the biggest impact over longer periods of time, right? But then also, if you're spending time with the wrong associates, the wrong friends, they're not on the same track you're on, which means they're continuously going to be distracting you, right? They're not helping you get where you want to go. They're not helping you attract your goals. They're distracting you from getting to your goals. So you want to be really intentional about your relationships. And when you're intentional about the relationships, you can let the person you're in the relationship with know what you want and what you need, and then they can tell you, and then you could better discern how this relationship, if you need this relationship or not. So you got to be really diligent about how you manage your relationships. There's so much science that backs the whole you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the time with the most, right? But not only that, there is another degree to where if you are friends with people who have other friends and associates who are far below whatever your standard is, it's going to have an impact on you. And I definitely believe that, because if I got a close friend and their close friend is up to no good, or their close friend I can tell is knocking my mans and them off track, I gotta tell my mans, like, yo, who is homeboy? Like, why is you rocking with him? What y'all got? What's going on? Like, if you say you trying to get this done, but you still rocking with yo, that's cool. I'm just going to be over here, and call me when you figure out that relationship. And it's not because I don't got love for my homie and that the other guy is just like, like I don't like him, but you got to be on your A game, man. All those things matter. And I'm not saying you got to be doing the Carfax on every single person and every single person that they know. But trust me, if you got people in your circle, you're going to get to know who's in their circles, and you need to be mindful of that, because there's a reason why they have first, second, and third degree crimes, right? You could be an accomplice to some BS, and that energy is going to rub off. It just does. You have friends for like long periods of time. I grew up in East Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? So we run away and in the hood. So I ain't spend a whole lot of time in the hood, but it's only literally 1 block away is where all of the things is going down. So I'm unfamiliar at all. And as you get older, unfortunately in the city, a lot of us can relate to this. Unfortunate things happen. Some crimes go down, some violence goes down, and we start to lose brothers at a young age, right? Far younger than what we should. And so you start to hear a lot of this bad news. This person got shot. This person, died. So-and-so got into this or that. Yo got this amount of time. I ain't trying to hear none of that news. So when I got friends that's always reporting back to the group text about this and that, like, I got to get out that group text. One, I don't want to hear about the negativity. But if it's somebody that they close to, now you got to think you are being dragged into their emotional turmoil because you're a good friend to them. They might need some level of emotional support because their man's in them, something unfortunate happened over on that side. And that's not to say things can't happen to any and everybody, but when that's happening too often to a person that's in your circle. You know what I'm saying? And I got a homie that used to always come, yo, such and such this and such that. And then they start to pick up from other friends who bad things happen to. And now they starting to report back to our group text that's 2, 3, 4 people removed that they got in trouble. I'm like, oh man, little such and such from around the way we don't know little such and such. Unfortunately, it's a bad thing happened. Blessings to his family, but I don't know them, and I'm not trying to hear that. I don't really care. Like, I don't want to hear that type of stuff. Like, I'm over here trying to build for me, my family, and to some degree, you. So stop bringing that BS around here. Be diligent and be intentional about your relationships. It will improve your network. It will improve the energy you keep and have around you, and it will feed into you and help propel you to the places that you want to get to in life. So before we wrap up this episode, let's do a quick recap. First, the hidden health risks that a lot of modern men are facing nowadays: sedentary lifestyle, chronic stress, poor nutrition choices, poor personal relationships, and sleep deprivation. Some of the things that I recommend to help avoid, prevent, or recover from those hidden health risks are: fitness routine. Implement, develop, and be consistent with your fitness routine. Improve your nutrition habits. Start with reducing and eliminating alcohol and highly refined processed sugars and carbs. Implement a mindfulness strategy or technique to help you deal with the day-to-day BS that pops up in your life. Improve your rest and recovery methods, particularly your quality of sleep. Last but not least, be intentional and diligent about your personal relationships. If you want to figure out where you can start your journey to better holistic health, you can check out my 360 Performance Quiz at 360performancequiz.scoreapp.com. There will be a link in the description. Thanks for listening to the very first episode of the Healthy Deposits Podcast. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment on any platform where you may be listening to or watching this episode. Healthy Deposits, Wealthy Withdrawals. I'll catch you in the next episode.